Let's build a food ordering service. So to start off, I'm going to make some basic HTML code through um, just VS codes like basic boilerplate. Now, the reason why we're building this ordering service is to learn more of how HTTP requests work within PHP. Specifically, how we can send data from a front end, this HTML code, to the server side code or the backend, all right? Which is going to be the PHP code. Now, I'm running this PHP server, on a tool called XAMPP. As you can see, I have my web server running. um, you could use another PHP server, but XAMPP is like the most easiest one to set up and get started, so that's just the one I'm going to be using in this case. Okay. Anyways, back here, I'm just gonna call this food ordering service. All right, and let's give that a refresh there. Nice. Now within the body, to actually interact with a HTTP request or send an HTTP request, we need to create a form. So let's do that. Now, within the form, we need an action attribute. This is where the program lives, the backend program lives. And in this case, it's going to be the same file, but it could be a different file as well. And then we're going to have a method of post, right? Because of the REST methods. If you do not know what REST is, I would recommend searching that up and understanding that, because that is a prerequisite to this video. Now, within this form, we're going to go ahead and add some inputs. So I'm going to create a label so we know what the input is. And within a food ordering service, we obviously need to know what the food is. So I'm going to say food. Now, within the input, it's self-closing, so we don't need to add a closing tag. We're going to add a type of text. And we also need a name attribute. The name attribute is how we will be accessing this on the server side. So in this case, I'm just going to call it food, like so. Now, let's make another one. And this one, let's say, is quantity. And text. And let's say quantity here, like that. And then we're going to create an input of type submit with the value of submit, like so. As you can see, it's very basic, bare bones. I'm going to add a break tag in between each of these elements, and there's a reason why I'm grouping all these together. I did that by intention and by design. And there we go. Okay, cool. Now, outside of the form, I'll add a title. This is just some cosmetic stuff of just order your food today. And then again, we want to add a break tag. And obviously you can, style this up nicely with a CSS. Like right now, this looks like an early 2000 form. But just for the intents and purposes of the tutorial, I'm going to refrain from doing so. We're only focusing on the functionality after all. Okay, now that we have our front end built, let's go ahead and work on our back end. So to actually use our backend or actually code our backend, we need to create a tag of PHP. And this is how we're going to do it. Okay? So it's a $ PHP $. All right? Now this is going to execute on the XAMPP server, actually, the Apache web server, before you actually even see it. Now, here's how we're going to actually access these different values. We're going to actually, first of all, assign a variable name. So I'm going to call this food. And within that is going to be $. Obviously, all the time, when you want to use a variable, you need to add a $, by the way. All right, that's just something that you have to do. Now we're going to do $ again, and in this case, it's going to be underscore post. Then In here, we're gonna add brackets and food, like so. And then we need to close that off with a semicolon. Now let's do the same thing for quantity, and let's say that is post as well, and that is going to be quantity. Now we can reference food and quantity because of the name identifiers, right? It's because of these names that you can actually access it within the PHP code. Cool. So now you have the variable names. You can do whatever you want now in the PHP server-side code. You can interact with a a SQL database. I was gonna say PHP my admin, but that's a GUI interface. But anyways, you could interact with databases. You could use the arithmetic operators in PHP, which is what I'm going to do right now. And then you could just use the echo tag to bring it back to um, the UI. So here I go. I'm gonna say you got the data over here, and then I'm gonna say total, which is going to be before that actually. I need to add a semicolon here to close that off, and I'm actually gonna do price here, and that's going to be set at $5.99. All right. That way we just have a price to work with there. And then in total, what I'm gonna say is quantity times price. So that way we actually get the total amount. And finally, I'm gonna say echo, and then in here I'm gonna say your food is ordered at, and then it's going to be the total, and we need to add it like that. You need to add this over here just for formatting purposes. Okay, there we go. All right, I just made that a little bit bigger so it's much easier to see. Yeah, there we go. So now what we can do is I can come back here and I can go ahead and add a food. So let's say pizza, and I can add a quantity, let's say 3. Let's submit this. And as you can see, it does everything for us. Now, you might have noticed that within quantity, we actually use the type text. But then here, it's able to actually multiply with that properly. And that's because PHP is dynamic in its typing, and so it allows for that to happen seamlessly. Like you don't need to have it as an integer, because this was definitely not an integer, it was a text. But just for the UI's purposes, intents and purposes, I'm going to make this a number. And so let's go ahead and submit this. And now, as you can see, it's a number. So let's do food. Let's do tacos. And then the quantity, let's say, is 2. Let me go ahead and submit this. And as you can see, it gives us our total back like that. And obviously, this is a very simple logic. If this was a production grade application, there would definitely be some sort of database manipulation here, or talking to an external API or resource. But just for tutorial sake, this is good for now.